Okay, so I'm Arya Arani. I go to Carolina Day School. I'm in 11th grade, and my GPA is a 4.0.
I am Noah Mraz. I go to CDS. I'm in 9th grade, and I'm getting mainly Bs.
My name is Juliana Fortini. I go to Carolina Day School. I'm in 11th grade, and I'm pretty sure my GPA is a 3.9.
I'm Ben Goodrum. I go to Carolina Day School. I'm a junior. I have a weighted GPA of 4.14 and unweighted of 3.98.
I'm Bronwyn White. I go to Silsa, and I'm a junior, and I think my weighted GPA is around 4.3.
I'm Noah Levrow. I go to Nesbitt Discovery Academy, and I'm in 10th grade, and my average grades are A's and B's.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Maybe a round of applause. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to take my own advice and take a microphone real quick. So for your first question, anyone can just decide at any point, this is kind of popcorn style from here on, as to what you would like to share. First question off, what was it about your rainbow education that prepared you for high school? What was it about your experience here that prepared you for high school? Let's put this down, and anyone can just pick up a mic and start from there.
I'll go. I think working with others is one of the biggest things, and not just in your classroom, but in other classrooms. There's like a lot of mixed opportunities, like the singing circle that we had on Wednesdays that we'd all have as a school. So I think the like intermingling of other grades definitely helped in high school. So you weren't like closed off as just freshmen or just sophomores. It really helped me to like when I was a freshman to go to juniors or sophomores for advice or help. So that communication with the other classes and other grades were really helpful.
I personally feel like I was prepared to think in a really critical way coming out of Rainbow, and I feel like outside of academics, socially, I had a group of friends and people in a community that I knew I could come back to, and it was comforting to know that like going into high school and making adjustments that I could always come back here and see my fellow Rainbow people and feel comfortable and in a community that I felt safe in.
I say that Rainbow helped a lot with socially, especially since I was one of the only people from Rainbow who got into Nesbitt. So helped with making it easier to get new friends, and then also with the homework load here, it's a lot. And that prepared me also for the lots of homework I get at my new school.
I have another thing. Academically wise, other than socially, I think it was kind of cool just to like spurt out facts that people didn't like especially know in other schools. Like we did a study on trees, and like a lot of people would be saying like other things that they learned, but I was like, but do you know the tree cycle? So it's like different things that you wouldn't necessarily learn, but it also helps like everyday life stuff.
You really get to know yourself at a more like you get to know yourself a lot better like interpersonally, and so like you're really comfortable no matter what situation you're put in, like comfortable in your own shoes, I guess. Even if like you have a big project coming up, you're able to like focus and just really be more mindful about what's like coming next.
And for your next $1 million question, What makes Rainbow students stand out in your high school? What is it in particular that maybe the teachers notice about students that graduate from Rainbow, or what do you notice as well? What do you think that difference is?
I got one. I've noticed that Rainbow kids are really able to like connect all of the different subjects and like apply different stuff you learn from like your science class to your English class to your history class. And I think that really comes from my like background at Rainbow, because we're learning all the same stuff in the same classrooms. And so you kind of have to apply the different like subjects to the other things you're learning.
Kind of like going off this, the freshman English teacher at Silsa, Rainbow has kind of created a reputation for him, and he, like at one point he was calling it Hogwarts and all sorts of things like that, but he came up to me this year and he just said, like, all the Rainbow people who came into my class are really smart, and I found that funny, that at Silsa, Rainbow has kind of come up the reputation of students who can think critically and connect things and analyze things in depth. And
I think the all-around confidence that students have coming from Rainbow is really powerful. Like not even like academically wise, but socially, like every part, just having like the holistic education that you get here. I feel like personally it brought a lot of confidence when I went into a different school, to just have personally for me, my education and socially wise, I feel like I was pretty good all around, and it helped making friends and like connecting with others.
Yeah, like Juliana said, I feel like the Rainbow people are very well-rounded and are able to focus on things that are outside of grades and outside of just the regular school structure, and things such as like nature and like emotional issues, and I feel like that's really been a good thing for them.
Also, just with connecting with other people, I'm like pretty much the only boy in my grade who will actually actively go over to the girls and talk to them, which I don't know. At first, I sort of found it weird. I was like, wait, why aren't all the other people talking to the girls? Like, what? But yeah, that's what I found. You know, I'm just really good at, and a lot of other people in my grade, people from Rainbow are.
My last question, then it's up to you guys to drill these guys with any other question that you would like. So keep thinking what that might be that you would like to ask. What advice would you give to a 5th grade parent or student that might be thinking about all the other middle schools around Asheville? What advice would you say to a family or student that might be thinking, well, why stay here? Why continue a Rainbow experience? What was so special about your middle school experience? Because you guys were all here for middle school. I'm just looking through, yes. You guys were all here for, what was it about your middle school that, oh my gosh, there's no way I could have missed that? This really made me me. What was it that was very unique that you loved about your middle school experience that you don't think that you could have gotten elsewhere? So what advice would you give to a student that might be looking at other middle schools, or a family that might be looking around? What is it about our middle school that really stands out?
Me and Arya talk about this all the time, because we go on like these nature walks together during school when we have a free period together, and it's pretty fun to like have that Rainbow side of us come out again, and just like sharing the love of nature. But I think honestly having like the holistic side of a student, and like for me growing up, I don't know what would I would be without Rainbow, because it's so helpful in every single way that you can grow as a person. And having that education mixed in, it's like, I might be biased because I came here and I enjoyed it so much, but I think that really it helps you so much just to become a person in the real world and have that education as well, because those things tend to be separated a lot. But if a school like Rainbow makes them the same and has that level of education with becoming a person in the real world. Like, I couldn't imagine anything better than that.
I feel like Rainbow is so unique. It is just, like, I have never seen or heard of another school like it, because it dwells into so many spiritual ideas that you would not get anywhere else. And there are so many subjects that are talked about in different, like, that you wouldn't experience anywhere else. And I feel like also the connections that you have with your teachers here are just, they're unbelievable. They're amazing. And all the teachers here are so amazing. I love them all. And for me personally, I can't imagine what I would be like if I hadn't been to Rainbow. It just really shaped who I was, and I think it was such an amazing experience in my life.
Like, another thing that Rainbow is unique about is how the teachers help the students when they need help. And I had nothing on my head, but I forgot it.
Grab the microphone then next. Any questions that come up off the top of your head that you guys want to ask these students? If not, I can just keep on asking questions.
Very simple question for everybody. I'm just interested what year you joined Rainbow, each of you. How long you've been here?
I joined in preschool.
Kindergarten.
First grade.
Kindergarten.
Preschool.
Preschool.
Okay, I did not know that until this moment. I might start crying right now because that's incredible. We probably have your just tiny little baby photo somewhere in here. That is amazing.
Well, I mean, I guess, it's only been like 2 months, but I mean, it's been definitely different from, I've been here since 4th grade, and it's definitely been it's definitely been different, but I think it's a good change, and definitely for high school, I think it's a good transition into high school.
What was the biggest surprise transitioning from this really special place out into more of the real world school?
I think the biggest thing was probably the multiple classes and the teachers not communicating all the time, like homework-wise. But I think Rainbow helped me in a way that I could manage that work, especially like with meditation, because in some classes we do that before. And like in the morning I do it a lot. So I think the biggest jump was the homework load, but I knew how to control it.
I think for me, the biggest change was dealing with people who I was friends with who hadn't ever learned to have conversations like I had, or to use conflict resolution like we had learned at Rainbow, and trying to communicate with them, and me just having to adjust how I communicated, but I got used to it eventually.
For me, it was probably the size of my school was a big transition, coming from such a small place that I had been for my entire life, where it was all close-knit, to a school where there were tons of people, and it was just a different experience. And I felt like it was really important for me to have a place where there was a community that I could then take the skills that I learned from there and apply them in a larger community and meet people that I connected with in that sort of way. And like Arya said, I feel like Rainbow students have a really high level of emotional awareness that a lot of other students that I've seen haven't learned, and I think that's really important.
I know. Tell us about some of the other clubs and other things that you're involved in. I just want to hear about like the depth of your life right now. What does that look like? So if you're in clubs, if you're in any after school, anything extracurricular that you're doing on top of your regular school load. Anyone start?
I'm captain of the varsity soccer team at Carolina Day, and so I do that about like every single day. We have some sort of workout that I'll go to and really be with the team, and that really helped me meet new people because I've been doing soccer my whole life, and I was able to connect with other people at the school that also do soccer. I also started with my friend an environmental club at Carolina Day, and I really was able to like take some of the stuff that I learned from Rainbow and was able to apply it to the club that we have now. Like every other week we meet.
So at my school, there is no direct like sports off of it. You have to go to sports from your base school. So then, like I went through my base school to play ultimate frisbee last year, and then I'm gonna also play it this year. Then for last year, one of my teachers told me to do a TSA club after school, and then so I did that this year. And I'm gonna enter in a board game design competition for it.
I'm in the National Math Honor Society and the National Art Honor Society. And I've also been involved in theater, which is definitely because of Justin in the back there for letting me join Imagine and be a part of that. And that inspired me to do that, so.
I'm also in theater because of Justin, which is awesome. We were both in Imagine together, and I love that a lot. I also in a Taekwondo class, which I got my first degree black belt last year, which was pretty awesome. And I'm also in a self-awareness and self-restoration club, which is a fancy name for a napping club that we did. So that's really helpful during the day. So the teachers don't know it's a napping club, but it's self-restoration. So, I mean, you know, it goes under those guidelines. So that's also amazing.
I just finished my second year of varsity tennis, and I'm also part of the literary society, and I'm helping with doing art for that, which is really fun.
Yeah, every day I pretty much come to Rainbow after school, help out my dad. Yeah.
He's going to be much more involved after this meeting, after today. Any other types of burning questions that you guys might have for these incredible human beings? I'm going to keep on asking them questions if you don't. Can you name something that has lived with you from your Omega experience? Something that you will never forget in a good way, that just has been like something that's been lasting of like, I will never forget when we did this project, when we had this specific assignment, when we got to go on this field trip, when I made this connection with this friend. Anything that you find that's something that's going to probably stay with you for quite some time.
Well, I would say not necessarily, the projects or, what we were doing in class, but mainly the friendships that I had with all these people. I've known them for so many years, and I'm never going to forget, the interactions that I had with them.
There was one astronomy lock-in that we did. I don't remember what grade that was. Seventh grade? Oh, seventh grade. That was awesome, and it really fascinated me, and I'm in astronomy class now, and I love it. It's probably one of my best classes. So I think just those seeds that were planted in me that opened my eyes to new things, it shows in high school, which is so cool because I didn't even know those seeds were being planted. But then when it came back up again, I was like, I remember what a constellation is, just from that overnight kind of party that we did.
I think this was 7th grade, imagine. We did a slam poetry kind of thing, which I really enjoyed, and Bronwyn and I did it together, and it was just a really good experience that kind of opened my mind to that kind of style, and I really enjoyed learning those types of topics, and it was really incredible.
I'm not sure what this question is, but it made me think of something. This morning, we got to talk with some of the current 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and they started talking about some of the current events that they learn about a little bit and how they talk about current events, and how, in elementary school here, the students are really quite kind of protected from a lot of what's going on in the world, and that really changes in Omega. You all get into an attack and talk about a lot of really serious stuff in terms of systems and politics, and we were explaining how it's tied to history. It's like when you're learning about the Industrial Revolution, you remember that unit, and you study child labor, and then you'll learn, and some of you would do research on child labor today, and so I'm wondering if that had any effect on you as you went to high school in terms of understanding the world and some of the difficult issues, if you found there was any difference between your understanding of sort of some of the, also some of the things that are going on in the world, if you seem to have some sort of understanding there.
I think it definitely did impact that, and I feel like in Omega, we had the ability to create an open, really in-depth discussion on those topics that wasn't just like, this is what happened and this is how it relates, but more of the students had to really think about drawing those connections and relating that to our world, and discussing it with one another in a safe space, and I feel like that's really important, and that impacted me. It was on animal abuse.
I remember doing all those current event papers that we were forced to do, and I did not like them, but it made me enjoy it because we had the freedom of choosing what current events we got to choose. So again, it planted that seed in my interest in knowing what's going on in the world, and just having that little bit of freedom in choosing what we wanted to learn about. It kind of prepared me for high school because there's a lot of independent research and just a lot of research that you have to do in high school in general, that it prepared me saying there's a big internet that you can choose a lot of links from, and there's a lot of information that you get to receive. So it kind of put that seed in saying I can research even on my own now.
What is it that you love about your school that you're going to? What is about high school that what makes you come alive now? something that you love going to school because of? I heard of astronomy one. Like, what else is there that you're just absolutely delighted to enjoy at this point of your life?
I'm taking an AP Art history class right now, and I think the reason I like it so much is because the teacher that I have is like reminds me a lot of a rainbow teacher, because she'll talk about the art, but then she'll talk about all the things that go on around the art and like the different things that the people might be thinking about when they're making the art and all this kind of stuff that I really, I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me because I grew up like with that sort of education, and I can tell because she really likes me. Yeah.
I think one of the classes I enjoy the most is Spanish, just because I have a lot of like relation to Rainbow with like my Spanish class and doing it like every year since first grade. And there's so many songs in my head that I like repeat, like during quizzes and tests that like people don't know. And even just like the basic things that I learned in like second and third grade that people don't know now. I think that's just so fun to know all of these different songs. And me and Arya we're so weird because we just sing these songs to each other, and like Ballena Beluga and just like all of these things that we all sung in first grade together. It kind of like brings that community back.
Okay, so what I really like about my school, it's engineering school, and I'm very interested in engineering. And so last year we had Introduction to Engineering, and we learned about CAD modeling, which is where you use the computer program to make stuff, and you can 3D print stuff with that. And so we learned a lot about that sort of things. And then this year I have Principles of Design, which is a continuation of the class. And like all the engineering classes are led by PLTW, which is Project Lead the Way. And that's what I look forward to my school for.
Can you describe a little bit further? What is Project Lead the Way?
Project Lead the Way is a program that teaches about engineering. And so then the teachers at Nesbitt who teach the class get their lessons from Project Lead the Way. And so they're the people who are teaching everybody about at my school about engineering.
One more thing for this one, it's like the service requirement that we have here in the middle school, like volunteering and stuff. I think that really stuck with me because like I still find myself out look for volunteer opportunities and take them whenever I can, and that just like, I think that just grew, like I just thought about stressing out in Omega about making sure I have the right amount of hours.
I was just curious, comparing yourselves and your schools to the other students, if you notice a difference in your desire or interest in learning and actually doing the schoolwork or exploring what your teachers are trying to teach you.
I found personally that people complain a lot, and I feel like it's kind of in my nature to have a fun attitude about it and like to love to learn. And it kind of like bugs me sometimes because people are so down about it. But I think something that like Rainbow has taught me is to like really have like an uplifting attitude, and having that makes me have better grades and just makes me have more fun with it all. So I think having that like having that in Rainbow, it really helped a lot. Just to have like be excited about everything that you do. Because that, like, your attitude really just changes everything, and especially with learning. You will learn much more if you just have, like, a good attitude about it.
I definitely agree with what Juliana said. I found that a lot of other students have been, like complain sometimes and just don't fully engage with the material that they're learning and are just kind of like, oh, that's cool, but I'm just doing it to get through school. But I feel like Rainbow has kind of taught me to think like, wow, that's really cool. That can be looked at in so many different ways and applied to so many different things that you never may think of. And I think that has helped me to keep my motivation through school.
I think what they're describing is that divergent thinking, Renee, that you were talking about earlier in our slideshow. Being able to think about things not just linearly, but to be able to see the big picture around it and see how everything is connected. That's where that light bulb can go off of, yeah, it's awesome because of all of these other connections that are there. Any other questions that could be there? Anything you want to know just about life in high school? Anything about their high schools in particular? Last time we did this, we had quite a few questions just even specifically about what high school life looked like. So if you guys have any questions about that in particular, yes.
I'm somewhat familiar with Carolina Day, but I don't know SILSA. Does that stand for something? And I guess your engineering school?
So SILSA, it stands for the School of Inquiry and Life Sciences at Asheville, and it is it's a public school, but it's in the basement of Asheville High, and it's all honors classes. It's a much smaller community within Asheville High, kind of, where all the core classes are through SILSA, but you can also take all of the electives offered at Asheville High.
This young lady is just arriving from the airport. She just decided this is so important. She flew in for this amazing event right here. Welcome, Olivia. Yes. Olivia, you're going to introduce just your name, what grade you're in, what school you go to, and we'll just start with that right there.
Okay. My name is Olivia Hardinieri. I'm a freshman at SILSA. Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going really well so far. I really like it there. It's going well. Yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
We asked at the very beginning, what if you feel comfortable sharing your GPA, what kind of grades are you making in your classes at this point?
Mostly A's and B's. I don't know where that puts me on the GPA levels, but yeah, mostly A's and B's. Yeah, pretty exciting. I wasn't so sure going in what to expect, how hard it was going to be or how easy, and yeah, it ended up being. The expectations are definitely high because they are honors classes, so I found that there's a lot less work, but you're expected to do more. And of course, this is just the first semester of freshman year, so I have no idea so far, but so far so good.
Now we have a couple other questions. Fantastic.
How much time do you spend on an average of homework each night?
And this goes to everyone. Just pick up a microphone.
So for me, I usually do homework for an hour while I'm waiting for my bus, and then sometimes for 30 minutes to an hour at home. It's 2 hours.
It can range on the day. There have been days where it's been 5 hours and it's been a lot, but maybe 2 hours-ish on average.
I'd say 2 to 3 hours on average.
Well, I'm not taking any APs, so I don't have any crazy classes that I'm taking that I have to do a bunch of reading for. So in my situation, it really matters how you like move how you do your work, like what days. So I would probably say like an hour and a half each night if I did homework every night.
I would say it's solely dependent on if I have free periods in the morning or if I have free periods that day. Sometimes I'll have 2 free periods right next to each other, so that's like 2 hours where I can just knock out a bunch of my homework, so yeah.
I'd say about 3 hours per day on average, but it's all about how you manage your time also. And then like towards the end of the semester, usually they ramp up the homework too. So to make it
I would say like an hour and a half to 2 hours, but it definitely depends because we're on A/B schedules. So
I'll try to phrase this as a question and not lead, and I went to an all-girls high school, and I noticed when I went to college, I was a lot more outspoken as a female voice in college than the other girls were in college. And I was just wondering, have you noticed a difference? You're very outspoken here, and I love that. And I was just wondering, have you noticed a difference in your female classmates who didn't go to Rainbow in terms of how outspoken they are in class?
Can you repeat the question?
So non-Rainbow girls in your class, do you feel like you are more outspoken than girls who didn't go to Rainbow? Do you feel like you're more free to voice your opinion or to raise your hand than other girls?
Well, in like for Carolina Day, a lot of people have like moved to the middle school, up to the high school, so they're all like pretty comfortable with each other. And I was a new person going in, so like I didn't really know the class very well. So at first, I would say that they were pretty much the ones talking most of the time because they were all comfortable with each other and they knew each other. But now since I'm a junior and I know everybody pretty well, I would say that's pretty even. There's no like majority like of people talking.
I agree with at Silsa. I feel like there is not really a majority of males or females talking more. I feel like most girls at my high school are outspoken and feel the ability to share their opinions. And yeah, I feel like that has been my experience at least. Yeah.
All right. So, did you feel? I guess the question is, a lot of parents are curious. You know, they're like, well, for this middle school, are they going to feel prepared when they go into high school? Are they going to be prepared academically? And I know you said, as far as your grades, you're already doing very well. But did you feel prepared? Were you like confused in class, or are you like, oh, I can get this?
I was pretty scared just because I didn't know like what to expect, and like my brother went into high school before me, and I knew he was like really smart, and I would always compare myself to him. So like, I was like, oh, if he's struggling, that means like I'm gonna struggle like way more. But it wasn't as bad as when I got there. I don't think I was like, I ever like blamed Rainbow like, oh, we didn't learn this, so that means that. I think it was just high school that just came at you, and there was no like crazy difficulty level, but you're learning new things. So I think that's like any grade that you're moving up. You're obviously gonna have some challenges, but it's nothing like way out of my comfort zone that I was like crying.
So for science, I felt like I was like underprepared because we didn't learn as much as what the other people from the other schools have learned. But then for like homework wise, it felt way more prepared than the other people because they said it was lots of homework. To me, it does not seem as much homework as they said it would be. And I hear a lot of people complain about their homework. And to me, since I got tons of homework here, it doesn't seem like there's much to complain about at all.
I felt like my writing skill was like completely prepared for the high school level because we had spent so much time going over like essay structure and all that, like all the different components that make up a good like paper. And so I felt like fully prepared for any writing that I did in high school.
I feel like there was some adjustment, which is just like Juliana was saying, that's just going into high school. And they put me in an AP class in my freshman year, which was very difficult and it was stressful for me. But I definitely did feel prepared, even though it was an overwhelming amount of work at the time. I felt like I had the foundation to work from.
Can I just hear it lastly from Olivia, maybe Noah, about, because you guys are freshmen, this is brand new to you. How does it feel going in? Did you feel prepared enough-ish overall in your classes?
Yeah, I would say I was very prepared, like mostly with just managing my time. A lot of the other kids, they just be talking with each other, like, like gossiping or other stuff, and like in the class or like, during free periods, I'm like really trying to get my work done so, I don't have to do it later.
Yeah, I would agree with what Noah's saying. And also, like, Rainbow has kind of taught me, like, expectation-wise, like, how to kind of, like, rise to different levels, and I feel like that's a big part of SILSA, at least, like, right now. Like, figuring out what the teachers need from me, figuring out what my classmates need from me, and because of how I've learned at Rainbow and what I've learned at Rainbow, I really feel like I've been able to, like, figure out what I'm expected to do in different situations and rise to those expectations, so it's really helpful.
Olivia, we asked this question earlier. How do you see that Rainbow Omega kids stand out from the crowd at SILSA?
Let's see. I don't really know. I mean, we definitely, I guess you see like a different kind of friendship than you do from other kids. I wasn't even here at Rainbow for like that long, and I still know everybody in my class pretty well, and I feel like all the kids who have gone to SILSA, we've really like kind of hung on to that and kept that relationship. And I feel like you see that from other middle schools too, but there's definitely like something like almost like sibling-like, from this kind of relationship, so yeah.
Okay, it's kind of a broad question. As far as, I guess I'm just interested in the state of the youth at your guys' age and what's going on at school in regards to how people are treating each other as far as sexual orientation, gender, ethnicity, race. I'm wondering if coming from Rainbow you feel that you might have more insight or compassion towards any of those subjects or not, or just wondering what your feeling is on what you're witnessing in school, and just kind of throwing that broad spectrum out there if anyone feels like they would like to share any insight into that.
I feel that Rainbow really prepared me to be able to talk to people who have different beliefs or have different aspects of them than I do, and to be able to not just like put that away, but to actually like talk about that and come to a conclusion. And kind of an example of this is Mateo Rosero. Right now he's working for our school's paper, I think, and he's interviewing people on diversity and trying to figure out how that fits into Carolina Day, and I feel like that's really interesting and a good representation.
Like Arya said, I feel like Rainbow has definitely, it has taught me to see the light in other people, even if my beliefs differ from them, and understand their beliefs and understand where they're coming from. And I feel like Rainbow has kind of bred a lot of politically active people, and I don't know, I think that's cool. And on the side of like sexual orientation and gender, I found that at least a lot of Rainbow students are very open about that and everything, but in my experience in SILSA, I've been really surprised to see how many people are supportive of that and really open about that, and just in general, you're wondering about youth, and I think it's pretty amazing.
I think the unity that Rainbow taught me was to not be like a part of the cliques, because there's a lot of like cliques in high school. So I'm not really like a part of like one specific clique, because I'm friends with everybody, and that's nice because it makes them feel good. And I've noticed that like it branched other people out to not be so like cliquey, and I can only talk to these person, like these people. And I think it was really nice to have like the diversity of knowing that everybody's different, and everybody's like cool in their own way.
I think we're wrapping up maybe with one last question or so. I would love to hear what or if there's a spiritual practice that has stayed with you, because your spiritual domain started here. I'm sure you know it's been part of you forever. Is there something that has stayed with you all of these years that you would like to share?
I think the biggest thing for me is breathing. And like, I kind of find it as a joke sometimes, like with Arya, because she's kind of like, all over the place sometimes. But I always just say, take 3 deep breaths, and I like do the thing where you go like that. And sometimes it makes her angry at me because it's the simple answer. And she's it doesn't work sometimes when she's so stressed out that we just take 3 deep breaths together. And I think definitely like before quizzes and tests, just to calm yourself. So I think it even takes like a physical side of you, like it actually calms you down. And I've learned that from experience by doing it over and over again.
My French teacher has started doing this thing where she actually like does a centering thing before her class every single day, and it totally like freaks me out. I'm like, am I back in middle school? Like, what's going on? She'll pull out the like bell and she'll ring it, and we'll have like a moment of mindfulness, and like I know what's up, I know what's going on. As soon as the lights go off, I'm like, yeah, I'm prepared for this. And so like I'm able to really get a lot out of that, and I feel like it's really cool to see that like other people are doing that besides just Rainbow, and it really is something that can be applied to everything in life.
I've definitely found that I've done that exact same thing where I'll like just say to another Rainbow person, take 3 deep breaths and go through the motions and everything. And I feel like it has helped me be able to ground myself and be like, I just need to be mindful of the world. I need to be mindful of myself. I just need to take a deep breath and get through life. And that, I've learned so much through the spiritual education of Rainbow.
Yeah, I'd also say 3 deep breaths, which I which I do a lot, like before tests or before anything stressful, and I feel like they really help me look at the bigger picture and focus on what really matters and how the specific things that we do every day might not mean as much, like tests and things might not mean as much in comparison to the overall picture.
Thank you, audience, for being here. Thank you, alumni, for being here. We are so amazed by everything that you have shared and everything that you have yet to do. So thank you so much again.